Well, welcome to episode 2 of the Lucas Bros podcast. We're back again and we're excited to have you with us. My name is Chad Lucas. With me is
Ryan Lucas.
We're brothers who grew up in Arizona, Gilbert and Mesa, Arizona. We now live in Southern California, Orange County. And here is episode 2 that we're excited to roll with. So welcome.
Yeah. Episode 1 was a lot of fun. Hopefully people tune in or tune back in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We mentioned in episode 1 that we have absolutely no idea what we're doing. Mm-hmm. So each episode we're trying something new. We have a couple new camera setups here, some better audio quality, hopefully that we're going to get out of this, and we're just going to roll with it.
Yeah.
What did you think of episode 1? You haven't seen it yet. We haven't published it. But what did you think about doing episode 1?
Episode 1 was a lot of fun. I feel like we got to a lot of interesting conversation topics. We covered family, gratitude, cold plunging, habits, health hacking habits. So it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the time with you.
Yeah.
It was good. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the reasons why we wanted to start this podcast was, one, talk about our lives, talk about what's going on, and honestly, just get more time together. Mm-hmm. A big value for both of us is family. Mm-hmm. And we talked about what family means to each other last time, but it's just great getting time with you.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good time.
So, a couple weeks ago is when we recorded the first one. Anything new going on in your life?
Nothing new. Things are good. Work is good. Been getting outside quite a bit, which is nice. The weather here, it cooled off a little bit, but it cleared up. It's a little less foggy. Surf is nice. Waves are kind of clean. It's not as choppy and windy as it usually is during the late summer. So yeah, it's been a good time.
It makes for some nice mornings.
It does. Really nice mornings.
So I was actually out at coffee with my wife this morning, and I thought of a really interesting question that I want to ask you, because I never thought about this, but what is some of your best wake-up memories? What are some of the mornings that you've woken up? I didn't prep you for this question, so I'm giving you this off the cuff.
There's no prep for any questions here. Yeah.
Best wake-up memories that you have?
I'd have to say anytime camping, particularly anytime when I've been in the Sierra Nevadas, mountains in Northern California, Yosemite and Sequoia National Park, that area. Anytime I've woken up there, because the air is so crisp, it's so clean, it's fresh air, and then you're always in some sort of like really beautiful natural environment. But like the mornings, they're not like the mornings here coastally where it's all foggy. They're super clear, super crisp. Mm-hmm. I think probably one of my favorite. It was actually not clear, but we woke up and it was a bailout situation, kind of we did a trail really similar to this one, but
hold on, what's a bailout situation?
So we had a plan of where we were going to hike. It was a long loop, but about midway through, there was a point where you could exit the trail. You could get off the mountain if you needed to return home early for whatever reason. For this reason, we had like super inclement weather. So overnight, it basically started like horrendously sleeting, like slushy snow on top of our tents. And then we woke up, there's like slush everywhere. It's super cold. And then we had to like get down the mountain pretty quickly. So it wasn't a pleasant morning, but it was a memorable morning that I, looking back, enjoyed. At the time, like your fingers are numb, your toes are numb. You have to get off this thing. And it's, kind of uncomfortable, but it was a good time, good memories.
That brings up another question that maybe we'll circle back to. Is what are some memories that you have that were terrible or miserable in the moment, but that you look back with gratitude or fondness on?
Yeah.
Now?
I was having this conversation with a client earlier, and there's the terms for this. I think they call it like type 1 fun, type 2 fun, type 3. Have you heard of this before?
I've not.
It's like type 1 fun is what they say when you're they call it like it's fun in the moment, you're enjoying it, and you'll look back on it and say it was a good time. Type 2 fun is like it's I guess it's not really fun, but you're doing something that should be fun, like you're on a, trip or something like that, and it's like it's not going well, it's not fun, and you're not going to look back on it fondly. Like when you're, rental car or something like that doesn't work out, you're doing paperwork, you're, upset with the people. Type 3 fun is where it's like, okay, it's not going well, but it's not super fun in the moment, like hiking out of a mountain in the snow, but you look back on it for some reason and it was like really fun because you like, I don't know, you have the memory with the people, and like you almost, looking back, it was like kind of funny how miserable it was, or you were like still in a cool place and you could look back and joke about it. I don't know if I got the numbers right, but there's like 3 categories there of like what fun and adventure was like. And it can end up being any of them, but usually I try to look back on things, and for some reason that type 3 fun like ends up being almost more fun than the stuff that was inherently fun in and of itself.
So type 1 fun where you're having fun.
Yeah.
Type 2 fun, you should be having fun, but you're not.
You're not. Yep.
Type 3 fun, you're not having fun, but maybe it will turn into fun.
You look back, yeah. Maybe it turns into a memory of fun.
Time heals all wounds, sort of thing.
Most wounds. Yeah.
What would be a type 3 memory that you look back on?
So the reason it came up is because I was talking to a client. So in my work, I sell custom windows and doors to builders and architects for custom residences. So very high net worth people. They build nice homes. They need some nice materials to go in those homes. So we sell the window and door component of that. And I was talking with a client about an experience I had where we thought we were being super smart, and we found a place to buy a product that looks really high end for a really cheap price. We found a company in China that was making this product, and it was going to look like a really nice window for like a fraction of the cost, like a third of the cost. So you could put tremendous margin on this thing. And I sold 3 jobs, so totaled about like $150,000, $160,000 worth of product that we sold to customers, was having it manufactured in China. And over a long weekend, I was like patting myself on the back. So I'm like, this is the smartest thing ever. It's going to turn into a totally different business. We'd already done some cool branding for it. And then I got back and I had an email from our Chinese supplier that basically had a really poorly like hand sketched map of the United States and a huge X through it. And it said like basically in broken English, we're not selling you windows anymore because we have another partner in America who buys way more stuff than you. And they said that we should shut you down.
Wow.
So overnight, we're like, I'm in business with my dad. He's the founder of the company. And so we're looking at each other, like looking at this email on a Monday morning and going, okay, so we have, $150,000 worth of windows to build or find somewhere. And the problem is not just that you got to find these things, but now the clock is ticking. Where we promised these things, we said, hey, it's going to take us, about 10 weeks to build these things. We're like halfway through that already. So we got to find this stuff in like 5 weeks, which is really a condensed timeline for coming up with something new like that. And long story short, of the 3 things we had to deliver, one of them we found another supplier in China. Another one we were able to create. We were able to build it here, but it was all relatively simple. The third one was actually quite complex, and we were able to also build it locally, or at least at the time where I lived in Arizona. And during those like 5 weeks of like intense, like figure out all these problems, it was not fun. But looking back on it now, it's like tremendously fun because you can look back and see like, wow, look at like in the time constraint with like the right pressure, we figured out how to basically become a manufacturer like overnight. And the product we ended up delivering was really nice. I think almost better than what we were going to buy overseas.
That's a great story.
Yeah. It was definitely a type 3 type story.
Very applicable. It sounds like a lot of things that are type 3, it really comes down to a matter of perspective.
Yeah.
Because you could look back on that story with a completely different lens and think it was the worst time of your life.
Yeah.
but you've always been very good about being an optimist and seeing things from different perspectives, and honestly, very good perspectives, healthy perspectives.
Thank you. Yeah. It took a minute to get there with that one. That was a hard one
Yeah.
to turn into type 3 fun. But
Yeah.
after a while, you get there with it.
Yeah. We're talking to our daughters right now. We're teaching them about Titus 2:12, I believe is the passage. And I don't have it memorized yet. I'm working on it. But it talks about denying ungodliness and thinking sensibly. And I think that's a really big trait of that. When you talk about having the right perspective, part of that is like you could substitute that with like thinking sensibly about things. And so as I'm teaching my daughters this, I've been really convicted of my own life. Where am I not thinking sensibly? Where am I not thinking biblically about things? And the Bible also says, to give thanks in all things and for all things. And so a lot of that is coming down to that perspective of, hey, this is a tough time, but can I even be thankful to God in the midst of that? And that's part of thinking sensibly and thinking biblically about things. It's something that we're trying to train our daughters in right now.
What is for your 7-year-old? What's the hardest thing to think sensibly about?
Yeah, right now for her, it's a lot of being content with what she has and recognizing that everything that she has is a gift and is a miracle, and being okay not having that next thing. Or if all of a sudden plans change, we think we're going to go to Knott's Berry Farm one day and it ends up raining. She might be sad and thinking, oh man, it's a bummer that we don't get to go. And so we're trying to counsel her through thinking about, isn't it so good that God's blessed us with the opportunity to go on other days, but also too, like it was just raining. We talked about how thinking about the rain, like how beneficial that is. If there's no rain, we wouldn't have any trees and plants and the green grass. And so really trying to train her to think about the positives, but also to recognize God's sovereign plan in it as well, and to be thankful and grateful for the things. So really a lot of it comes down to gratitude, but helping her to connect it, that it's her thoughts, that it's not just, oh, I'm grateful for something. It's that as life hits me and things happen and I undergo a change of expectations or maybe missed expectations, to think correctly about that and to turn our hearts towards gratitude.
She's at an age right now. Having seen her grow up and develop to the point that she's at right now, and then you have the 5-year-old too, and then the youngest one, do you feel like, what stage did they start to be able to separate their thoughts and emotions from reality? Do you feel like that's like she's there right now, or is it kind of back and forth?
I would challenge that. I don't know if anybody ever really gets to that. Yeah, I mean, I'm still learning.
But you
that.
know what I mean? Like when you're a kid, it's like this happened. Like there's no other reality besides that.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I think it's just sort of a case by case basis, and honestly, each kid is different too. So while my 7-year-old, I think she is a lot more aware of the emotions that she has, and is a lot more aware of what her thinking patterns are. My 5-year-old is just a different person. She's not as aware of her own thoughts as the 7-year-old was at that age, but she's way more just playful and doesn't have as much. It's funny to say a 5-year-old has stress, but literal just stress over situations. She's much more go with the flow, and yet she also has a much wider range of emotions. When things don't happen, when it's missed expectations, it's a lot more sadness for her. And so it's trying to more so with her help counsel her through the sadness, and again, just pointing her heart back to really I should say with her right now, it's a lot of helping her to control the emotions and recognize that there's emotions that are happening there, and to just sort of control, because for her, it will just be a lot of emotions that are just sort of full vent. And so for her, it's a lot of the just self-control. So with the one, it's gratitude. With the other one, in same situations, it's a lot of self-control.
Yeah. Do you think, I was thinking about this the other day, like time has got to be so weird for kids too, because you think about like, I think time is sometimes our experience of time is sometimes relative to how long we've been alive. So like a week to you or I feels like not like a crazy amount of time, but like a week to like a kid, because they've only lived, like X amount of weeks, that's got to feel like a small eternity where you're like, don't worry, like we're going to go to whatever next week. That's like, okay, like relative to the amount of time I've lived, I would love to do the math on it. There's like a week to me feels like a week, right? But a week to her, if we're taking, I'm 33, if that's our baseline, then like a week to like a 7-year-old, that's got to be like in the blink of an eye. But then like a week to like a 7-year-old has got to feel like 3 times the amount of time.
I wonder if anybody's come up with a standard. Yeah, you should come up with a standard.
There's got to be some middle point.
The Ryan standard of time.
Definitely for kids, it's got to feel way longer.
Yeah.
Like I can remember slightly being a kid and a week feeling like a small eternity.
Oh yeah. A day could be an eternity.
Yes.
For a kid.
Yeah.
But honestly, as a parent of kids, a day can be an eternity as well too. So anyway.
How did you answer that question about the morning? What was your favorite morning?
So it's funny because you mentioned camping, and the immediate one that just comes to my mind is when you and I took the trip up to Santa Barbara and we camped out in that sort of, it wasn't a cave, but it was, what would you call that?
It was like a cave, not like a deep cave, but it was like an overhang.
Like a carve out. It maybe went back from the cliffside, maybe 5 or 7 feet in. So it was just enough to get a couple sleeping bags. We were with a couple friends. And so we had gone up there, and this is just my best morning memory, is waking up to the sound of the crashing waves on a Santa Barbara coast, because I just remember it was one of those I had slept so well. I had ridden my motorcycle up there. I was exhausted from that drive. We got in super late, very tired, but slept incredibly well, fallen asleep to the sound of the waves. And then just that first initial just crash of the waves, just that crash, waking me up, but then just laying there sleeping, and just with that cool morning mist and high humidity and sort of marine layer hanging around. That was a good morning.
That was a good trip. Yeah. That was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, waking up in nature is pretty hard to beat.
Yeah. I was going to say, I agree with you when you get out in nature, and especially in the mountains, when you have those just really clear mornings. I was up in Bishop last week, and Bishop, California, kind of over, for those who aren't familiar with the territory, Bishop is the town that you pass through on your way up to Mammoth for all the skiing, snowboarding, mountain biking during the summer. And I hadn't ever really paid attention to it, but just how clean and crisp the air is, and just the visibility where you can see mountains for miles and miles around. It's something I've taken for granted when I've been up in the mountains.
Big time. We spent part of last summer in Oregon, like southern coastal Oregon. And what's amazing there, because you have like a coastal breeze, and so you have like the salt and the marine type smell, and then you also have like super lush green, like fern and soil and old growth trees, like forest. So you have both of those at the same time. It's one of our favorite areas to explore. It's really, really beautiful, and just phenomenal air quality. Yeah,
well, we really appreciate it as desert kids growing up. We look at green. What is this?
Yeah.
There's moisture on the ground. This is incredible.
Well, like we grew up being able to go to northern Arizona, which has green, it has forests, it has pine trees and stuff. But it's when I got to explore like the Pacific Northwest and Northern California, it's like, well, this is actually lush. Like the dirt in Arizona is still like dust and dirt and pine trees. So there's green pine trees, but there's not like vegetation. And then you get up there and it's like, oh no, actually the whole thing is green. There's just everything grows. It's beautiful.
So I'm curious to know, we're kind of going back in our conversation here, type 1 fun. Good type 1 fun memory.
Type 1 fun is like the thing, it's usually the thing you actually set out to do. Like I feel like type 1 fun is like, yeah, you're going on a hike, you're riding a motorcycle, backpacking, surfing. Kate and I went surfing this morning. Type 1 fun for sure.
Okay. Well, that answers my question. I was going to say, what type 1 fun have you had in the last week?
Yeah, we've gotten a little bit of surf in. It's been nice waves lately. We go to Bolsa Chica. That's a little bit, couple miles north of here. That's been really fun lately for us.
Nice.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know what our policy is here for this podcast of commenting on comments and things like that, but that would be one of the things that I'd be curious for anybody listening. What's some type 1 fun that you've had in the last week or month? Just something that you've gone out and done for fun. And if you're so inclined to, what's a type 3 fun? Something that was really hard or difficult in the moment, but you found to look back fondly on it.
What was something type 1 for you?
Type 1 fun this last week would be, you know what, it's so funny, but when I was up in Bishop, we went out with one of my friends out into the field, and we were looking, he wanted to know how the quail hunting would be out there. And he said, usually he would have his dogs who would go out and flush the field. And it was early in the morning, it was cold, and with the cold plunging, I've been trying to get more cold exposure. So I was just in shorts and a t-shirt, and it was, I think it must have been maybe low 40s or so.
That's cold.
And so I was cold, and I said, hey buddy, I'll run out there and I'll see if I can stir. But it was really fun because it would just brought me back to our childhood memories of running down desert trails, because I was just running over there, jumping over bushes, and it's kind of still a little bit of that chaparral landscape a little bit. So I honestly had a lot of fun just running through a field, just jumping over rocks, boulders, things like that. I felt young again, and sort of the opening scene of Last of the Mohicans, when the guys are running through the forest and they're jumping over creeks and little berms and things. That's one of my favorite movie scenes, and so I love when I get to have an experience. So that was a really fun type 1 fun, and unexpected too. I had no idea. We were just going to go out for a walk, check out this field for hunting, and then I got to go be a bird dog for a couple minutes.
Did you have the music in your head from Last of the Mohicans?
I didn't. I should have.
That's
though.
a good one.
Yeah. I think I was mostly focused of just catching my breath in the cold morning air, and trying not to just get winded after about 20 seconds of running. Yeah.
I've never been quail or duck hunting. I've done like other types of hunting before, but that actually I'm not super interested in hunting. But bird, like quail, duck, something like that with a shotgun, that seems fun. I've shot clays before with a shotgun. That was fun. So I imagine, it's transferable, but I think that would be probably one of the few types of hunting I'd want to do in the future.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's very technical. I was talking to him a little bit about it. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And he is telling me just all these different things. I couldn't repeat it here. I just don't know it well enough. But I was surprised. I mean, anything, right, is so much more technical and in depth, which is what I love about learning things and just finding out more about all the different subjects. It's fun.
Yeah. Wait, so that was your morning memory. Oh yeah, it was the waves, and then the type 1 fun was the quail flushing.
So type 2 fun memory for you. What's something that you have done type 2?
Didn't love in the moment, don't love looking back on. So we were in my wife and I were in France this last summer for one of my good friends' weddings. Amazing, super beautiful wedding. They got married at this like chateau in the middle of France. It was gorgeous. And she works in fashion and design and beauty and cosmetics and stuff. So everything there was like just done so well.
Beautiful. Done to the nines.
Very beautiful. But we're pulling up to the wedding, and we hit a bump on the road. There was this like rural France. We hit a bump really hard, and we pull up to the wedding. Our tire's completely flat, which is like not a huge deal. I'm like, no problem. I fixed a flat tire before, not a big deal. And just to make sure, I'm like, you know what? Before we go to the wedding, let's just make sure we have, spare tire. No spare tire in the rental car. No spare tire, and then I'm like, okay, well maybe there's like a fix a flat or something like that. None of that. Basically, and then I asked the people at the chateau who work there. They're like, yeah, no, sorry, none of us have spare tires. None of us have a jack. None of us have nothing. And I'm like, guys, like, what is going on? Give me one, like, just give me a tool. Give me anything. This car is so light we could almost pick it up and put the wheel back on. And I asked the guy. I was really excited when we rented the car because it was a French car. It's a brand called Peugeot. And I was talking to one of the French guys there, and I was like, hey, like, I really need help with this tire. It doesn't have any tools in it. He's like, what kind of car is it? And I was like, it's a Peugeot. And he's like, it's a French car. I said, yeah. He's like, it's garbage. So like, great. And long story short, basically in the eyes of the rental car company, the car was like beyond repair because you couldn't find a spare tire anywhere and you're not supposed to fix it yourself or whatever. And so then we had to like drive, or we had to like take a taxi like 100 miles to like the next place, and the taxi bill is just like running up, and the coverage didn't cover the spare tires and all this stuff. And it was just like, it was such a mess to unwind. I was like, man, if just one guy there had like a spare tire kit, that would have fixed the whole thing. But that was definitely a type 2 situation, kind of a downer on the trip.
You're in France, going to this beautiful wedding.
Yeah.
That's amazing on its own.
Yeah.
But yet you're dealing with tire issues.
Yes. There was one redeeming part of it. So we were, by the time we figured out like, okay, we're not getting anywhere with this tire, we were like, you know what? We're just going to dance for like an hour. We're going to have a great time at the wedding. It was beautiful. We had a really fun, we're just going to worry about that when we have to go home, which is not going to be for a couple hours. So we had a great time. We're dancing and everything. And then we're like, okay, we're getting tired. Like we need to figure out a ride home or something like that. And so I had a glass of wine with my buddy there. And then we were like, oh, man, maybe he could give us a ride home. And he goes, no, I can't drive you home. He's like, I've had too much to drink. I can't drive you guys. And we're like, okay, well, maybe we could just use your car. And he was like, you know what? Absolutely. Use my car. And he's like about to hand me the keys. And he's like, didn't you have a glass of wine? I was like, yeah, I mean, it was like 3 hours ago. I think I'm okay. Like I'll be able to get home. It'll be just fine. He's like, yeah, sorry. I think maybe, well, Kate, you could drive. So he gives the keys to my wife. And I'm like, that's fine. And then instantly, like, we're like, good, yes, we get to go home. He like turns around and then has 2 shots of tequila and is like, but since you're not driving, and then he hands me the tequila shot. I was like, oh man. And so I kind of like had to fake, like, I think I just
throw it over my shoulder.
Yeah, I like did the movie thing. And that was probably the most clever way to get me to take a shot anyone's ever tried. And it almost worked.
Almost worked.
Yeah.
That's quite the story.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
So type 1 or type 2 fun, but it was a good memory.
Is there anything that a different perspective that you would take that would turn that into type 3 fun?
Don't get a flat tire in France. That would be the perspective.
So just don't do it.
No, I don't know. I mean, so here's the thing. It made me really thankful for being able to do things with my hands. It made me really thankful that I do know how to change a tire. And it made me super thankful that I live in a country where like people are prepared for that kind of thing, which was just, it was shocking. Like we had this, and then somebody else at the wedding had a flat tire, and it was like, well, what do we do? It's not going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. And to combine this with the fact that it was on a Sunday or a Saturday night to a Sunday. So France, especially rural France, just absolutely shuts down, which, when you're on vacation, you like appreciate that. I think we came to appreciate a little bit of the hustle that we have in our culture and a little bit of the urgency that we place on time in our culture. So those were things that I took away from that experience in a positive sense.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a good perspective.
Yeah. Do you have a type 2 fun story?
So I was trying to think about this while I was listening. And the thing that comes to my mind would be, so I'm a private pilot, got my pilot's license about a little over 3 years ago. And that's been a lot of fun. And most of the time when I get to go out flying, it's such a joy. But so every 90 days you have to stay current. So you basically have to do 3 takeoff and landings to a full stop every 90 days to be current to carry passengers. So I try to stay current as best I can. And it's usually not a problem if you're going out and recreationally flying. But it's also different where if you're flying at night, it's a different requirement. You basically have to do 3 night takeoff and landings in order to carry passengers at night. And so some of my type 2 funds have been when I'm out of currency or I'm almost out of currency and I have to go up and do 3 takeoffs and landings. And you basically just take up off the airport, you go do 1 lap in the pattern, land, you do that a couple more times. But I've definitely had a poor attitude sometimes of or at least an attitude of, I just have to knock this out. I got to go do this. Instead of recognizing, I'm about to go up and fly a plane at night over beautiful city lights, and it's
cool.
going to be amazing. And night flight is incredible because it's just quiet. The airport that I'm at goes into, it's an untowered airport at night, so it is just quiet. There's not nearly as much radio chatter. The air is cooler. It's crisper. It's usually less haze and foggy, so it's just beautiful scenery. And yet I can turn it into a chore of saying, oh, now this isn't fun. I got to go up and I'm doing this for currency, or I guess I sort of have to. And so when I should be having fun, flying my own plane at night, quiet, serene mood, I can definitely have a negative perspective on it. Yeah. And then a couple other times when I've been flying and it's been super hot and muggy, or, you get up and there's a lot of traffic in the pattern, so you're just getting continually extended and you can't land. So I've had it before where I'm supposed to be having fun and hey, it's great, I'm flying the miracle flight. Human civilization over 6,000 years, we finally figured out flight, and then I'm sitting up there just loathing it or trying to just get down because I'm dripping in sweat from the heat and these just so much stuff going on, getting extended for the landings. So anyway, that would be what comes to my mind. Cool. I don't know if I have a specific scenario or story and event though. Nothing comes to my mind right now.
Well, that's good. Probably don't want too many of those.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I do have to. There's a lot of times, I think, especially with just life events and things, where I think, something, I mentioned Knott's Berry Farm earlier, taking the kids to Knott's Berry Farm, right? Where it's, okay, maybe I have a day off from work and we're going to go take the kids there. And I can get so caught up in sort of the agenda or even just trying to make it, it's weird. It's not trying to make it through the day as if, I just want this to be done, but trying to hit all the experiences, trying to make it good, or just maybe even come up with live up to my own expectations for the smoothness of the day. And then when it's rough, I bemoan that and get a little bit frustrated that, the line is so much longer than I was anticipating, or we're waiting in this line. It's very much so everything that I just talked about with my daughter, thinking sensibly in the right thing. Hey, I'm thankful to be here in Southern California on a day off from work when I get to take my kids to Knott's Berry Farm and ride amusement park rides with them. I can so quickly start to think, as soon as the line is 5 minutes longer than I was anticipating, I can get kind of grumpy. And so that's why I said teaching my daughters about sensibility, it's convicting to me because I recognize how often I fall short in that. But that would be times when I know I'm supposed to be having fun, or it's great, or the beach, just a couple blocks down from here. I'm at the beach, I'm in Southern California at the beach with my family, and I just think, it's sandy, it's rough, it's annoying. I'm gonna have the sand like in between my toes on the sandals on the walk back. It's gonna be uncomfortable. So times like that where, it's cold and windy. I don't wanna go in the water, it's gonna be cold, even though now the cold plunge is helping with that. I'm just, this is nothing. But things like that happen. I think that's actually almost very oftentimes a very consistent thing. Those sort of like micro type 2 fun things.
Yeah, I think those things can get in the way of like doing stuff. Like the other day, we were out at the beach also watching the waves and stuff, and Kate and I both were like, oh, like it looks pretty good. Maybe I could grab a surfboard and come back. And for a second, I was like, man, but then I gotta like rinse off the board. I gotta like hose down everything. I gotta take a shower after that, all that stuff. And like, it's so crazy how that stuff can get in the way of doing something so fun, that just because there's like all these things attached to it. Like if you're tired, I've found if I'm tired, I let all those things like take away from something fun that I was gonna do. But like if I can just get past that for a minute, and thankfully she kind of encouraged me. She's like, oh, it'll be worth it. Like, just run back really quick and grab a board. And if you get past that, then you end up having like so many more fun things in your life.
Yeah.
If you can just get past like, well, yeah, I mean, you're going to be a little sandy and salty and, but you're going to have a great time. And that I feel like is a skill in itself. If you're, practice it over more time, you start to do more fun things like that.
Just going.
Just figure it out. Yeah.
Getting over that initial inertia. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're doing here. We wanted to start a podcast and we had no idea what we're doing. And it was just one day, sort of just very minimal planning. Hey, let's start a podcast. Mm-hmm. And then just trying to minimize that inertia, set up a couple cameras, I have no idea about editing or how we're even going to publish it. But let's just get something recorded and let's get something out and go with it. And I think there's a lot to be said. I think that's something that's a skill I wish I learned earlier on in life, is because, like I said in the last episode, I'm a perfectionist. And so I tend to wait, or I tend to try to plan everything out. I want to know when I take the shot that I'm going to hit the bullseye. And the reality is I just got to take more shots and just start doing more things.
Yeah, it's a more fun way to live because you're getting to do a lot more with the right perspective. You know, it's not about hitting the shot. It's just about there's joy in doing it, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's, you know, the surfing I keep coming back to because it's such a little microcosm of like how so many things are in life where, okay, you really can't control the waves. So you can't always control your environment. Some days are good at it, some days are bad at it. Like it's super, unpredictable. But if you put the work in, you'll probably have more good days than bad days. And you'll find the best benefit if you're enjoying the process itself, like rather than like if you only enjoyed the time when you're actually riding a wave, that's like such a small fraction of the whole thing. But if you believe that enjoyment can be taught or learned in a sense, then I enjoy my walk down to the water. I enjoy being on the sand before I get in the water. I enjoy just being in the water and watching the waves. I enjoy, maybe seeing a dolphin or a pelican or, nature out there. And for us, even today, it was okay surfing, but like we just enjoyed being out there. So like the more you look at the whole scope and choose to enjoy all of it, you're not so like focused on the little thing that you're trying to do.
Yeah. I think the memory that comes to my mind, or sort of the person who really taught me that in a very specific way, was my buddy Brandon, and you know Brandon, we used to go scuba diving together. And I used to hate the scuba diving setup process when you're getting your gear, because you drive down. I love the drive down. We would drive down from our place in North Orange County down to Laguna, early morning drive. We'd be the first ones there. But then it came the thing of unloading heavy scuba tanks, getting all the gear on, and you're trying to stretch into these wetsuits and then like hoist on. I definitely overweighted my BCD for a long time, so I was hoisting on all of this extra gear, and you're connecting to the hoses and everything, and the whole time I would just think, just get me in the water. I just want to be in the water. That's when I'm going to be happy. That's when the experience starts. And Brandon told me one time, we weren't even talking about this. He just said, I love the setup process, or I love the gear up process.
He did love that.
And it was a total mental shift for me of just, I'm just going to love this process. And then after a couple of times and just really paying attention to the gear up process and trying to think and trying to change my perspective that I love this. This is great. This is part of the day. Then it became an appreciation for each thing. The way I would put on the BCD or hoist it up, like thinking about my movements and being more intentional with it, or even just paying attention to the smells of my wetsuit. And I had a wetsuit shampoo that would just smell amazing. And to me, I can still smell it right now, even as I'm talking about it. And sometimes when I open up all my scuba stuff, I don't really scuba dive actively now, but I'll just smell it and think back to all those memories. But most of those memories are actually like gear up memories, and we were talking and hanging out and talking about the dive ahead of time. So yeah, sometimes that prep can actually become one of the most enjoyable parts of the experience.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Like there's so much to enjoy. I had a similar learning experience. I had a customer, and his thing every year is he's a big horseback rider. Every year he plans this massive like horseback riding trip with a bunch of guys. They all go out and they bring everything. It's all basically a backpacking horse trip. So they go out in the middle of the desert and do this. And he's been doing it for so long now. He made this comment that like totally, he was an offhanded comment, but it totally shocked me. He's like, I enjoy the planning and logistics of this almost as much as I enjoy the actual trip. And I was like, that's insane. But good for him. Like he's the winner there, like he's the one who's getting to enjoy like not just this awesome trip, but he loves putting it together, putting it on, getting all the guys together. Like it's a cool way it's a cool perspective to have. It makes your life way more enjoyable.
Yeah. Probably just take that perspective about anything. Just enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
right? There's so much biblical wisdom on that in Ecclesiastes about just enjoying your work, even if it's hard, even if it's difficult, just enjoying it. And I read about a monk, and I will butcher this story because I think I read about it in a book and then heard about it. But it was a monk that would just take so much joy in just washing dishes, and just tried to take even the process of washing dishes and make it a prayerful, intentional time. And I've tried to do that sometimes. Now, to be honest, most of the time when I wash dishes, I'm throwing on a podcast or a YouTube video, but sometimes just turning that off and trying to be really intentional about that and just enjoying it. Just even thinking through the different perspectives of like, oh, I'm so thankful I get to wash the dishes because I'm washing the cups and bowls that my daughters use to feed and to nourish them. And that I know that this is helpful to my wife so that she can have clean dishes in the morning. She's not going to have to sit here and scrub that pan when she wants to make eggs in the morning or something like that. Just, there's a million facets, a myriad of ways of looking at it, but just being more intentional about it.
What things do you think take you away from that perspective, and what things do you think take you towards that perspective?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think this is why I've been really enjoying this. So like I said, each month we're teaching our daughters a different godly character trait. So this is a new process that we're doing where we're doing it intentionally for a month. We were kind of cycling through them each week, but now we're taking 1 month to do it. Last month it was on diligence. This month it's on sensibility. And I really enjoyed that one because it's really illuminating just how poor my thinking is sometimes throughout the week of how I think about things, and just being mindful of it now. I'm seeing how much I still have to grow in that. And I think exactly so your question really hits on that of why do I not think sensibly? Why do I not think the right way or the right perspective about things? And I think that sometimes it's just the natural thing, right? Like we're programmed to do that because we just fall into that way of thinking. It's natural sometimes. And then we build habits and thinking patterns around that. For me, I know a lot of it comes down to, I think, coveting and wanting more out of life. Like, oh, why am I doing this thing? And I think we're exposed to a lot of instant gratification and a lot of just sort of the highlight reel of people's lives, whether it's on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, whatever it is. And so we sort of have this anticipation of, we just want that highlight reel to continue in our own lives. And yet there's very real, and sometimes the best moments of life are those just quiet, simple, humble moments that you don't see as often.
So you're focusing on the highlight reel, like to go back to the scuba diving one, you're thinking about, I saw this reel or photo or whatever of this guy scuba diving, and obviously that's of him actually scuba diving, not putting on the gear and doing the drive and all that stuff. So you don't really, if you spend a lot of time in the environment of social media, you don't really practice enjoying those other things because it's not even on the table of what you're seeing.
Exactly. But I would take it beyond just social media, because I think that we tend to live in a highlight reel of in just our own minds too. Or when you think about certain things, you see just somebody out there surfing and you don't see the hours that it took them getting ready and prepping. So not even on social media, just in life, where you get to go and see, I mean, this is kind of just anything, but you go to a bakery and you get a really good pastry and you think, oh man, that's amazing. But you don't see the hours that it took to just knead the dough out or to go buy all the ingredients from the store, right? We so oftentimes only interact with end products or end results that I think that can then create we get used to that instead of focusing on what is the process and the journey and how do we get there?
Yeah, that's a good point. Like most of our environments, at least in the United States, are really like user or consumer facing. Like if you walk into a store, obviously you're not seeing how any of the food's made, right? Or picked or grown or any of that stuff. So we're like really in this sort of like front stage country in life that we have here, but you don't always see things being made. And maybe we would be a little bit more attached to reality if we saw a little bit more and lived a little bit more behind the scenes kind of things.
Yeah. And I think too, we're always trying to get, I shouldn't say I know I a lot of times find myself trying to get to that next thing. I want to get through dishes so that I can go to the next thing of what I perceive as joy. Because I think that's the thing is we're always chasing joy. We're chasing happiness. Nobody sits there and says, I want pain. Even the people who say, I want pain, or I love pain, I love hard work, they love it because they've switched their mind to enjoy that thing.
Yeah.
And so I think that if you reframe and just say, hey, I'm going to be thankful and grateful for everything, the fact that I'm sucking in air right now and breathing in and out. If we take that perspective, then that really helps to then say, look, we can be content in anything. And that's really the call of Scripture, right? Paul talks about being content in all things. And I think it's a lot of that perspective and mindset. But yeah, we talked about the noetic effects of sin last time. I think that there's just some of that things like we have to constantly push against the grain, and that comes back to God's grace and being living by the Spirit and being in the Word to constantly remind and renew our minds with the truth of God so that we can live sensibly in that way. So
yeah, I agree. I will say an easy one for me that moves me either towards or away from that perspective. This is a way more simple answer is sleep. Like sleep, just if I'm well rested, like you can find a lot more joy in things. If I'm not well rested, all those things seem like I don't even want to, go out and surf because I don't want to have the sand on my feet, like because I'm tired. That just kills so many things. But if you take good care of your body, you're well rested, you're not tired, you're not hungover, whatever from bad food that you ate or things that you drank.
Or I'm going to add another one for you, hangry, because I've definitely experienced your hangry.
Yeah, exactly. If you're hangry or you're not, your base needs aren't getting met, it's like, man, that you're really not in a physiological position to take joy in a lot of things.
Yeah, that's so true. What's something that you could do? I think this might be helpful. So like, what is something that you could do this week when you sense that, hey, I maybe have a detriment of sleep or hunger or some physiological thing that is impacting your body and that's impacting your mind? Like, what's a step that you could take this week to try and still take joy in the thing, or to not let that affect you in that negative way?
I think that's like awareness is the first step, right? So just understanding, like taking a moment to understand, 9 times out of 10, I actually can enjoy this activity. I get it. I'm a little tired right now. So let's just, flip this to one of those 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
I think that awareness is really the first step.
Isn't that so funny about how, because I totally agree, just being aware of that and knowing that it's coming, knowing, I didn't get a lot of sleep, I'm probably going to be this way. Why do you think it is? And I don't know if there's an answer necessarily. It could just be, hey, this is just biology. This is just what it is. But why do you think we're so unaware of those things sometimes?
I think because you're unaware because your senses are blunted, or your awareness is inherently blunted because you're tired or distracted or whatever it is. So it's like you're already a step behind, and so you're never proactive when you're like that. Or you're never your thoughts are never like where they need to be or where you want them to be.
Yeah. There's sort of a 2-step process there, because on the one hand, you try to set up your life so that you get the right amount of sleep, that you get the right food, the right diet, the right fuel for your body. But yet there's always going to be times in life when you don't get that, and then you still have to respond, operate. And that could be, again, whether or not you're just going to go out and do that thing, that event, or you have to go into work and you're just tired and exhausted, yet you still have to perform. Or that might be the day that you have the big presentation or the big pitch or the big project deadline. And so it's kind of, you're almost sort of existing on both sides of whatever that limitation is. And you're trying to solve for it on the one side and then react to it on the other side. And you kind of have to play both sides of that field to do things well and to operate well.
It's true. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I had a random question. I don't know what made me think of this, but I thought it'd be interesting to talk about. What are brands that you like and brands that you respect? This conversation came up in a business group that I used to attend, and it was fascinating to see where people went with when you just say brand that you like or brand that you respect. They're 2 different answers, but maybe they overlap in some regards. It's so fascinating to see what people gravitate towards, because there's all these things that we recognize that are household names or famous names that you can have an affinity for, and they all like kind of stand for something else, right? Like they all stand for something that you presumably are going to get if you buy a product from that brand. So I was curious if anything came to mind for you.
The first brand that comes to my mind is SpaceX.
Really?
Which isn't really necessarily, you don't think of it as a brand. It's
Yeah.
not Apple or Google but
I didn't see that one coming.
yeah. So SpaceX, I think about SpaceX probably more often than
Really?
most people who have nothing to do. But SpaceX
brand that you like, is it a brand you like?
It's a brand that I like,
respect?
that I really just respect.
Okay, so you like and respect it.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, I guess I don't know if I like it because I don't know what I would even call its brand, but I
Yeah.
really respect them in that they are basically single-handedly reinvigorating the space race, and in what they've done and reinvigorating it. I mean, I was watching a video the other day and I was talking about the cost per payload, and I these numbers are probably not like super accurate, but I think it was saying that when we were doing the shuttle, it cost like something like $60,000 per kilogram to send up. And if you think about like maybe like
this
a
is
small
like
handful,
so this is what years? Like like early 2000s or something?
I think that space shuttle program existed for a long time.
Okay.
And if you think about like 1 kilogram is maybe a glass of water that we have sitting on the table. Like think about that. It's $60,000 to send something like that into space.
That's crazy.
And SpaceX has got that down to now, I think it's under $2,000 or something. It's going to only continue to drop. And so one, just the ability to transport things up into space, and then what that's meant for satellites and communications and transporting astronauts and the future of moon landings. And they're doing it all fairly single. I mean, they're so far out ahead of competition. There's a lot of other really interesting rocket companies and all these different techniques and methods, but the fact that they're doing that, doing landing reusable rockets, like I just don't know of another company that has progressed their industry forward so much. I mean, I haven't thought about all these things,
That's
but
crazy.
and is that far out of over the competition, and in an industry that really just didn't have a market reason, right? Computers were going to exist, and computers were coming. They were coming online, so we were going to have a super successful computer company, and we had a couple. And I'm not knocking that, but SpaceX started doing all this stuff before it was even commercially or financially viable, and they looked just so far out when when you think about like their minimum viable product. Most people do a minimum viable product and it can actually do something. SpaceX's stuff was so far there. It was just such a long trajectory of what they're trying to do. And we're probably only at like the halfway point, maybe not even that, what they're going to do. So
that's crazy. I don't pay attention to that world or company very much, but I didn't think of that at all. I was really surprised to hear you say that.
Yeah.
And like, I guess the last time I kind of even tuned into any of that stuff was there's SpaceX and then the Blue Origin one, right? That's Jeff Bezos's.
That's
company.
Jeff Bezos, yeah.
And then the Virgin Galactic, that's the Richard Branson one, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And are those guys like, at least it seemed, having not read anything, that they were almost sort of on the same playing field, but they're not anymore, right?
I don't follow it in terms of the competition where everybody else is at, but I think SpaceX is, well, I mean,
way ahead.
A lot of the other ones are just, SpaceX already has the whole Starlink constellation. And like, I mean, if I pulled up my phone right now, if I walk outside, I can get on a Starlink satellite and start communicating that way. And I think everybody else is really just kind of the very early stages of it. And if you think about space is large, but there's only so many orbits that you can be in. And so kind of once you get there, you're there. And there's not like you can just put two satellites super next to each other and whatnot. There's going to be limited bands. And if you think about two satellites have to have a view. So if you put one here, it's a lot harder to put one underneath. And so SpaceX is a lot of times that they have that first mover advantage. And again, just to the fact that they're launching these ships that are the sizes of buildings into space is pretty incredible.
That is
the
crazy,
payloads that they can have. So,
and where they're going with it is basically they figured out the Starlink thing, right? So basically anywhere in the world you can have internet now, right? And then do you know what's like next on the table for them to do?
So I don't follow. I get the algorithm, right? I get some little videos and things here now and then that keep me educated. But I think that one is they have the Starship. That's the big one that they've been doing these launches on. And the whole idea is being able to return the booster and then return the Starship. So you can basically launch the big Starship thing and then have it come back. And the eventual plans will be that you could send one up that could be like a refueling one, and then it could go further out and further out.
And the ship is going to have passengers.
Eventually,
okay,
yeah,
cool.
eventually. And that's basically what they're launching right now is the early versions of the ship that will take us to the moon and to Mars, because that ship will be able to land on the moon, will be able to land in Mars, basically forward send supplies and robots. And right now they can pack it. I forget how much weight, but one of the things that's interesting is that because of the size of it, besides just the weight capacity, you can fit, because it's so big, you can fit larger items in it. So think about like if you were trying to fill up, a narrow thing, you have to have a lot of small little things to fill that up.
Yeah.
But if you have something bigger, even if it's the same weight capacity, you can just fit different sized objects in that same space. And so being able to launch that, you can launch now more equipment or machinery and things. So they're doing that. And then eventually, they're going to Mars. So it's really cool. It just, again, the vision that they have, I think it's a really cool, one of those just long shot, air quote, tongue-in-cheek moonshots, but it's neat. It's just neat to see the ingenuity and the fact that this company is pulling and creating a whole industry around it. I mean, so many companies are trying to catch up, and that just creates more people doing research like, Blue Origin, Virgin Galactic, Rocket Lab, which is right here in Huntington Beach, all kind of coming up with different methods and components and different things. And all that gets knowledge that's shared, people move companies, and they're able to then kind of synthesize these things. And so it's just in a very exciting time in that industry. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know what to expect, but I didn't expect SpaceX to come out of that. That's interesting.
What about you? What's a brand that you really respect?
Okay, two brands always come to mind that I think are really fascinating, because I answered the same way in the group that I was in. The first one that comes to mind, which is weird, and I won't talk about it for that long, is Costco, because I think it's so fascinating that it's a universal fact that you are going to get the best price there, at least in people's minds. Like that to me is such successful branding. That's like no matter what, it's going to be the best bang for your buck, hands down. And people just know it, and that's why they get Costco memberships and go there and stuff. And it's I think that's a crazy amount of branding or whatever that's been done there. But the one that I really probably enjoy talking about more is I think one of the coolest brands to me as a car guy is Porsche, because they've nailed this really cool intersection of the cars are obviously very luxurious, very fast, but they've struck this perfect balance of at least in terms of what people expect of the brand. It's this perfect balance of sort of race and track readiness, but still very refined and has the creature comforts you would want. So it's not it's funny because guys who are car guys eventually kind of make their way around to Porsche, where they're maybe they started off as kind of a muscle car guy and they liked the Dodge and the Chevy and stuff, and then they got into more European cars, and then eventually they all kind of end up there. So all the older guys who are into cars, eventually they most of them, generalizing, they kind of end up with a Porsche eventually, which I think is such a crazy thing that brand's done. That's they've just established this kind of weird dominance in that area.
Do you think that has been intentional in them, or do you think it's sort of organically happened?
No, I think it's been super intentional. That's kind of what their focus is this really high performance luxury, not necessarily if they're very comfortable cars, but they're also super performance oriented. So they've just got that whole mixture down. And it's
funny. Which is funny because in a lot of things you see it being more the hyper focused. You see somebody, hey, we're just going to go after the absolute fast or the absolute most comfortable. And a lot of things that are sort of a mix or the jack of all trades are a little bit tough to stand out.
Yeah, that's I think what's so fascinating about it. We had a friend of mine at his wedding. He had a very nice Porsche 911 for us as their kind of getaway car, and during the party enough, we were all kind of take turns driving it around, and one of my buddies said it best. Like he was like, "That's the fastest car I've ever driven. It's the fastest car I've ever driven. And if you asked me to sit in it for like 6 hours and drive across the country, I could totally do that every day." Or he's like, "I could drive this thing to work every day." Like it's like, but you know, most of those like super fast cars, you're like, well, yeah, but like it's uncomfortable and it's low to the ground and like the seat's all stiff and stuff. But it's like somehow they figured out how to do all those things at once, and it's I think it's pretty remarkable.
That's pretty cool. I hadn't thought about them, but now I'm comparing them to other luxury car brands, and you're absolutely right. They really do sit in this nice niche spot. Yeah. And as I think about their design too, they're really designed to be more like a car. They're a very great looking car, but it's not something that is like a Lamborghini or Ferrari where that's crazy. That's your design, and that's very much so. Yeah.
Yeah. And they've got like what I think it's cool from a design perspective when there are even specific models, like not just the brand but the model itself, where they've taken like a very slow design evolution. Like you could look at, you know, a Porsche 911 and go from 1960 to 70 to 80 to 90 to the 2000s to now, that you can like you could see a picture of them next to each other and see how it's very slowly progressed. And then there's all these Easter eggs and cues and throwbacks to the old ones that are in the new ones. And like that to me is such a cool way to do things, like such a cool design perspective to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any brands that you dislike? I don't want to be too negative, but something, yeah.
I don't know. I think there are brands, well, here's where I was going with the question. There's brands that I respect that are like just probably not for me. Like I really respect like Louis Vuitton. I think it's so like funny that you can see that their little LV logo on a pattern and it's like instant recognition, and they've made the same bag like forever.
It's
like
the same bag.
Same pattern, like, and it's like people like love it, and it's like a status and it looks cool, and like the brand shows up in like other places. Like I saw this guy, he replaced his motorcycle seat with an LV like leather seat wrap, and it's like, I mean, it's not for me. I don't like it, but I like respect it. I'm like, okay, like, because it instantly, like somebody does that and it's like, yeah, that's fashion. One of my friends had like boxing gloves that had like LV boxing gloves. And I'm like, totally not my style, but I respect what they've built in terms of like instant recognition and attachment to like, that's fashionable.
Yes.
Yeah.
I actually love that perspective. And it is really fun when you find those things where you say, this isn't for me, that's not my cup of tea.
Yes.
But I do really admire how you did that.
Yeah.
That's sort of the pinnacle of artistic endeavor, or the class of, right, when you can get somebody who, and I think Porsche is a good example. Yeah. People who are not car people will say, Porsche, respect, however you say it, is a really respectable, or that's a nice car.
Yeah. Yeah. I would weirdly, like, I think you could say, as a brand / franchise, like I have a ton of respect for like the Marvel universe thing. At least I don't know what it is doing now. Like I think it kind of got not as great, but when it was at its like peak at like the what's the very last one called, Endgame, I think I saw that one.
So.
Yeah, at that peak I was like, wow, like I'm not into the superhero movies that much, but I was like, what they brought in terms of like revenue and what they built with that and like the following that people had. My friend,
just the ability to stack so many movies,
things woven
and tell
together.
This really long story.
Yeah, and like the references back to older things, or even there's like I do appreciate, like I'll watch YouTube videos about this stuff sometimes because I'm like I don't need to watch the whole like 3-hour thing, but like the Easter eggs that they had on those things, like all the way back to not even like the movies, but like the comic books, like this character had this thing. And so like he's wearing this special ring or whatever in the movie. Like I have so much respect for that. Not my thing at all, but I totally respect it.
Yeah. Just that intentionality and just the artistic and just being really intentional. That brings to my mind, you know, a brand that I really respect right now, and it's funny that we're doing some of this for YouTube, but I really respect Mr. Beast brand.
And
really, I shouldn't even say the brand. I really respect him, and I don't know much about him as a person or anything. Yeah. But what I really like is that you can go back and look at his channel, and he has those videos. And I watched a conglomerate video or like a video that showed a lot of his early ones, and it kind of said it was Mr. Beast throughout the years, and it showed his early things where he's just basically playing video games and posting them online, and then he would do vlogs and just put in little entries, and he'd talk about it. Yeah, I hope by this time I have 1 million subscribers, and I hope by this time, and if I haven't done that, then he literally says, if I don't have 1 million subscribers by this time, my life's been a complete failure and whatnot. And I think he has something over 400 million subscribers now. And so what I really respect about it is that because this is so different from me. I am a jack of all trades person. I love getting into something new, exploring it, getting my hands dirty with it, researching it, learning as much as I can about it, and then doing it and moving on to the next. And I'm trying to learn how to be a little bit more long form with some of these things. That's why I have so many hobbies, why I've ridden motorcycles, why I fly planes, do scuba, was into, never did the hunting, but the guns and things like that, target practice. I love learning about new things. But I love then seeing people who have dedicated their lives to one thing, where Jimmy Donaldson, Mr. Beast, has said, from a young age, I think when he was 16 or something like that, when he started posting, of just like, I'm going to do YouTube. I'm going to figure out YouTube. And if you watch a lot of those early videos, he's all in on YouTube, and he talks about YouTube all the time. And just to see that he's just been so focused, and like his whole life is just about how do I do better and bigger on YouTube. And he's just this long, now he's in his 30s or something, or late 20s. He's been doing it now for a while, but just that consistent focus at one thing. Now, I think that's really good. I also think there's a value in being multifaceted and exploring. A lot of people who are at the top of their thing, they've been only focused on that one thing. Unfortunately, you see a lot of people who that not just exploring other hobbies, but they've been so focused on that one thing where it comes to the detriment of their family or their health, or even, for some people, their finances, or just their friendships and things like that. So I think it's interesting having that balance and whatnot, but that'd be another brand that I really respect.
Yeah, respect that a lot.
Or respect his initiative and focus there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a brand that I dislike or don't have a lot of respect for. I mean, there's a lot of garbage things out there.
Anything that's become a brand or a household name, like you kind of have to respect it.
How they
got there.
Yeah.
Oh, but then of course, like there's things that have like lost their edge, maybe, or things that had established they're at the top, and then they maybe like got knocked down a few pegs.
Yeah. I think anything that just doesn't. There's a couple of brands. I don't want to disparage any brands here, but like there's been certain products that I'll use. Like I have a keyboard from a prominent computer keyboard from a very prominent gaming company, and it buzzes. If I plug it in and I don't have any sound in my office, I can hear the thing doing that electrical hum. That type of stuff will sour my impression of a brand so quickly. If there's something like that where you can just tell it's a little bit of a shoddy workmanship, and then you start to see like, oh, all this other stuff, like the lights on it or the little features, it's all just sort of like all the sizzle, no steak, right? And so definitely then I feel like I've been gypped. I've been oversold by it and things. So when brands do that,
there's definitely, as soon as there's one little like falter, then you really start to see it, and maybe that's a psychology thing, but yeah, if something just doesn't quite live up at your first impression, it it's hard to recover. You know?
Yeah. Rainbow Sandals is another one that I really like.
That brand. Okay. Yeah.
I don't even have rainbows right now, but I just love that they're so well made, and just that whole artistic endeavor of just really intentional. I had a pair of rainbow sandals before for years and years and years. I think that's why I don't have one now, is because I had ones that were so perfect for my feet and like form. I literally
form to your feet as you wear them, right?
I literally wore the whole, like my big toe would hang out because I wore them so often and like so much that I can't bring myself to buy another pair now because they're not going to be my old pair.
Yeah, they'll eventually get there if you wear them long enough.
Eventually. Yeah, I can't wait that long.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
That's funny. I think it's funny too, though, because I feel like in some ways you start to move towards like smaller, like more handmade stuff now too, which has its own brand, but it's there's not, maybe some people, because they've been, had an experience with a brand that wasn't so good, then they move to something like even smaller, more boutique or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know we have family members who are waiting for us to wrap this up. I forgot to put a timer. We usually put a timer here so we can see how long we go. I have no idea how long we've been talking.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But this has been great. I hope you guys are enjoying this. Like I said, this is just our fun thing and a little bit of a creative outlet, but hoping to do some more with it, and each episode refine and get a little bit better. So again, we'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let us know what your type 1 fun is, or if you had a type 3 fun memory. So the thing that was maybe a little bit difficult, but you eventually found or took a new perspective and can look back with fondness on that memory. But we'd love to hear from you. Definitely go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, and anything you want to close us out with?
That's it. Happy to be here.
All right.
Yep.
Great. Well, look forward to episode 3 coming soon. And thanks for being here on the Lucas Bros podcast. All right.